Hey everybody, Kevin here from HumboldtCraftworks. Welcome to another episode of Woodworking with Mr. Kevin. In today's video, what we're going to talk about is hinging doors. We're going to talk about hinging doors. So I'm going to break it up into two little sections, something easy to watch, something like 10 minutes or so. And that way you can get the most out of it and you won't fall asleep. I'll try to make it as fast and as easy as possible. So on this first video, what we're going to talk about is laying out the hinges. And I'll show you how you go about doing that. We're going to show you how the drill press works. We're going to set these up on the drill press and we're going to drill some holes, and I'll show you how that works. Then we're going to actually install the hinges, and I'm going to show you the tools I use to install these hinges. We're going to go over different hinge plates, so the different hinge plates that you can use. I'm going to actually show you in the second video how to install using these two different hinge plates. Then the important one, how to adjust these hinges. If you don't know how to adjust these hinges, pay attention to this one, because I'm going to show you how all these little screws work with these hinges. In and out, up and down, side to side, all that, because they're very adjustable. And that's the best thing about having concealed hinges like these blow motion soft close hinges, because they work good. And then the last thing I'm going to go over in this video is some install tips and tricks and how to hang your doors easier, the best way to hang your doors, because it can get confusing at times. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody, and let's get to the video, and I'll see you at the end. All right. See you. Okay, so this is for all of you out there who have never hinged a door before, ever. So this is a door for a project that I'm working on right now, and I'm going to hinge it for you. I'm going to show you the easiest way to do it with a little tiny jig right here that I bought for this, and the bit cost me like $15. So you don't need any special setup. You just need a drill press, the drill that comes with this, and this little guy right here. So I'm going to flip this over so the hinge side with the H on it right here is facing me, makes it easier. So the top of my doors, I usually make the rails 2 inches and I make the bottom 3 inches. I have my little square set at 3 inches because I like to set all my hinges at 3 and 3 usually. This one's going to be a little different. Take my pencil right here. I'm just going to mark right here like this. Put a little line. We take our little jig like this right here and just line the center hole up with the line, and we're just going to do this. See that little tiny mark? We're going to use that to line up our drill bit. This cabinet's a little different. It has 2 pullouts that come out of the cabinet. So I have to miss the bottom pullout because if I put a hinge in the way, it's going to hit it. So I have my square set to 7 inches. So I'm going to come 7 inches up from the bottom. And I'm just going to put a line like that, just like we did last time. Take the little jig, set the little center line on there, a little hole. Okay, so we're marked up. If you don't have one of these, this is the Measure Pro jig. Check it out. Measure Pro. It comes with a bit, so it's pretty cool. But if you don't have this and you have a square, set your square to 7/8 of an inch and it gives you the same damn mark. All right, that's just that simple. So now we have it marked. Now we're going to go to the drill press and we're going to drill these out. All right, everybody, welcome to the drill press. So today we're going to be using blow motion hinges like this, soft close blow motion hinges. See how slow that moves? We're going to set our drill bit, that's 1 3/8 inches, just a little over 35 millimeters. To a 1/2 inch, because that's what the distance is from here to here, here to here, 1/2 inch. And I always keep that on a little piece of wood laying around because I hate setting that all up. And you set that up with these guys here. You make sure everything's locked down into place really good and it doesn't move or vibrate loose. So we're going to set this in here and make sure it sits in there and works, if I can get it in there. Yeah, that's it. All right, so that'll work. We have it all set. Now we have our mark here. And our other marks over here. So we're going to start with this one because it's closer. So if you don't have a fence on your drill press at all, and you can make a jig to drill all these holes. It's really easy to do. There's a little fence you put in the back here. And actually, here it is. I just took it off just because. It's super simple to make. So all these Forstner type bits have a little point at the very end, right where my finger is. What you want to do is you want to line that point up with a little pencil mark. So whether it's a cross or you use that jig, you want to line that up so it hits that little mark right on the center. It doesn't have to be super accurate, and I'll explain that in a little bit, but close. All right, now we're going to turn this on and drill a hole. And if you notice how that's flush, that's because this bit is a 1/2 inch deep. Pretty cool, huh? All right, get this out of the way. So if you want to check this, make sure, just stick your hinge in there and make sure it lands up in there. and it's flat, and it is. And what you do, if you just go down on it and tap it, you'll see where it'll punch a little hole in it. And you'll be able to see if it's all lined up, and mine is. So I'm going to start this thing and drill a hole. Now you can see we have both holes drilled. All right, let's take it back over to the bench and we'll put the hinges in it. These are the tools we're going to use to put the hinges in. We have a regular Phillips screwdriver. We also have a Vicks bit in our regular driver, or a self-centering bit, whatever you want to call it. We're also going to use these 1/2-inch little tiny screws right here, and we're going to screw them in by hand. Do not screw them with a damn driver. Put them in by hand. The hinge goes in like this. This is the outside of the door, so boom. The hinge closes like this, opens like that. This part goes just like you're looking at it. All right, so this one's kind of far away. I usually just eyeball these because there's enough adjustment in them, but if you don't feel comfortable, just use a square. Take a square, put it up against the back of this, right, just like that. Make sure it's nice and square, and usually what I do, I'll hold them in place, pinching them together, and drill me a hole. Just start with one hole, and we're screwing the screw in by hand. We'll just double check. Yeah, it looks good. And drill the other hole. Do not just go and screw screws in with a driver. Always pre-drill your holes. It'll grab better, they'll last longer, and you won't strip them out. This one up here, we can use a smaller square. Set up here like that, hold it in place. I'm just going to push down because that's square. And like I said, half the time I don't even use a square, I just eyeball it. I'm going to screw these in by hand. All right, now we have our hinges on, and the soft close hinges fit nicely on there. See how softly they close? Here's the different hardware that we're going to use. So we have this plate here is for face frames, and you put it on the inside of a face frame as long as you have room. Okay, we'll go over this a little bit later on. We have these plates here. There's an 18 millimeter and a 9 millimeter. This is actually for a 1/2-inch overlay door, and I use these instead of these for the reason I'm going to show you right now. So hopefully I'll explain it so you can understand it. So when you go to the hardware store or wherever you get your hinges from, you'll know that how to pick the right one, whether it's this full inset or this one right here, the 18 millimeter or the 9 millimeter. Okay. All right, I have a door that's all hinged up, ready to go. The first thing we need to talk about is your doors and your face frames. So the face frame, as you can see here, and this door are both 3/4 of an inch, and they have to be exactly the same for all this stuff to work. So you want to make sure when you're milling that you mill all your doors and your face frame stock at the same time. All right, just keep the flatter stuff for the doors. All right, so when you're using the 18 millimeter, it has a tolerance level between 3/8 of an inch and a 1/2 inch from this inside of the face frame to that wall right there. See that inset? It's perfect, it works, but you're screwing into plywood. I don't really like doing that. So I choose to put the poplar on there like I did right here and use the 9 millimeter plate. And you see that? It works great, all right? Because it's flush. So sometimes when you go to the hardware store and you're saying, I need inset door plates for Blum Ocean soft close hinges, they hand you these. Depending on what your circumstances, this might not work. You might actually have to go to the 9 if your sides are flush. This side is flush. And you can see 9 millimeter plate works great. So if your face frames are flush with the inside of your cabinet, you want to use 9 millimeters because that'll work beautifully. If you use the 18-inch hinge plates with a flush interior side with a face frame, this is what you get. You get a huge gap. So if you have a space that's like an inch, you might as well just buy the 9 millimeter, fill it in, make it flush like I did right here, and use the 9 millimeter. But if you're between 3/8 and a 1/2 inch, and you want to screw into plywood because you don't care, then use the 18 millimeter inset door hinge plates. Okay. All right, so another thing we should probably talk about is when you're building something that has inset doors, besides adding the poplar here, you also have to add door stops. You probably couldn't see it. Right there. It's already attached and everything. If you notice this, see how the door will go past 90 degrees? It'll just keep closing and closing, and it'll go past 90 degrees. So your door will be a 1/4 inch inside your face frame, and that would be dumb. But if you put a stop on there, it won't do that. All right, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to show you real quick what all these little tiny screws do and how to adjust everything. Okay, let's do some adjusting. All right, we have 3 screws. We have The one in the front, the one towards the back, and the one that's on the plate. The one in the front moves this up and down this way. The one back here moves the door forwards and backwards. And this plate here moves it up and down. So let's go over this. I'm going to close this real quick. All right, using the first screw. Watch the screen here as I clockwise makes it get closer to the face frame. Okay, how tight that is. Counterclockwise will open it up. That's one adjustment. The second adjustment is this guy back here, which makes the door go forwards and backwards. So this back screw right here, when you tighten it up or go clockwise, it pulls it into the cabinet. When you want to push the door out, you loosen it or go counterclockwise and it'll push it out of the cabinet. All right, so there's plenty of adjustment in and out if you screw up where your little screws are. And I'll show you how to set that in a second. Okay, and the last adjustment is up and down, which is right here on the plate. These screws right here, when you loosen them up, there's a 1/4 inch of play in there. So you can see how far that moves. And then if you have to adjust the door up and down because it's not working, you can. All right? You can go like a 1/16 of an inch either direction. And that's very helpful. This bottom one down here is to move the door up and down. The back one here is to move the door in and out. And the front one here is to move it. Tightening is closer to the face frame. Loosening is away from the face frame. And there you go. That's how you adjust the doors. All right, and one last thing is, we're going to take these off here. This little screw hole down here. Once you have the doors set and you're installing them and they're fit and everything works beautiful, pre-drill that out with your VIX bit or your self-centering bit and put a screw in there for the final. That way this won't wiggle loose. All right. So a little tip for hanging doors. Here we go. Always open your hinges like this. Make sure they're open. Make sure this top plate is centered and this top screw is a little snug. You want to leave this one a little loose, okay? It wants to wiggle. When we go to hang the door, I'm going to slide it into place here, lock that into place. With this one loose, we'll just come back and put it in place wherever it wants to go and lock it into place. And once you got it, and it's on there, just snug that up a little bit and you're good to go. And then when you take the door off, just unclip them and off you go. It's much easier to start with the top and leave the bottom one loose than it is to have them both tight and try to get them into place because sometimes they just don't want to go on there, but you know how that goes. And here's another thing I do to make my life easier when hanging doors is I don't put the backs on them. The reason for that is I want to get to the hardware, and for hanging doors the way I hang them, I need to get to the back because I need to screw on the hinges from the back because I don't use really any jigs. I just shim everything out and screw it on from the back. And I'm going to show you that right now. It's super simple. Don't need super talent for it. You just need to know how to do it. And I'm going to show you right now. All right, here we go. Just keep the backs off until you're ready to install. That's important. All right.
Subscribe now.
Coppers. Coppers are out busting people. I'm starting to get the thirsties. Booger snot. Have you noticed my backs don't have cabinets on them? Oh, ladies. So most of my cabinets, smoke them if you got them. Most of my lower, all right. So if you notice, this cabinet doesn't have any back to it. I'm going to take the other hinge. Where the hell is it? Oh, booger snot. I need 45 hands. It's kind of hard to do this and film it at the same time because it's awkward. I know I'm awkward, but whatever.